So the cash flow podcaster made off with millions in a Ponzi scheme, according to the SEC. So let's check this out. So the key points of this is Matt Motil defrauded investors out of millions in an unsophisticated Ponzi scheme, basically saying that it's like a dumb Ponzi scheme. Motel described himself as the cash flow king, according to his social media presence, and promised to help teach investors how to leverage rental real estate investments to help you get paid and live a lifestyle you actually love. And he filed for bankruptcy in Ohio on March 2022 to try to escape millions in claims. Like, here's a pretty simple way to live a good life. Be debt free, spend less than what you make, automatically invest towards your retirement. There you go. But let's check this out. An Ohio podcast host ran an $11 million Ponzi scheme that defrauded more than 50 investors with false claims of helping them become a real estate investing badass, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission alleged Monday. Matt Motel described himself as the cash flow king, according to his social media presence, and promised to help teach investors how to leverage the rental real estate investments to help you get paid and live a lifestyle you actually love. But his self-described success was an elaborate facade, according to regulatory filings and Ohio bankruptcy proceedings. In a 29-page complaint, the SEC laid out how Mattel issued promissory notes fully collateralized by property across Ohio to dozens of investors. Mattel told his investors that those notes were collateralized by first mortgages on properties, suggesting that no other investor had a more senior claim to the property. The complaint said, nearly everything about his scheme was a lie, the financial regulator's complaint read. Wow. In one instance, according to the SEC, Motel managed to get more than $1 million from 20 different investors for just one single family home, valued at no more than $130,000. He targeted a wide array of investors, from a cancer researcher to an active duty U.S. Armed Forces officer, the complaint alleged. He filed for bankruptcy in March 2022 in Ohio, but has evaded the SEC's administrative subpoenas since then, the regulator said. All the while, Motel relied on social media and his own website to advertise and entice other investors, the regulator said. Motel and his wife, Amy, profited handsomely from the scheme, the SEC alleged. Motel claimed that the promissory notes would go toward renovating and reselling the properties, a practice commonly known as flipping. Motel also forged signatures and misused a notary's seal to continue his fraud. The SEC alleged, which is a crime in Ohio, Motel attempted to file for bankruptcy in Ohio in an effort to discharge the money he owes his investors, but his case has been contested by the U.S. trustee. Federal regulators have stepped up their scrutiny of smaller-scale scammers who do significant financial harm to investors in the public. Earlier this year, the Federal Trade Commission leveled civil charges against an Amazon e-commerce automation company that defrauded investors out of millions. And I believe that is the one dealing with Kevin David, which was a crazy scam that he was doing, where he scanned, I think, up to $50 million worth of people's money, which is pretty crazy. So the thing that people need to understand, if it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true, right? And look, when it comes down to real estate, it really comes down to you try to buy a home on the cheap so that you can either sell it for a profit later on, or you try to rent it out at a profit to generate a positive cash flow. The problem is, a lot of people who get into real estate or want to get into real estate never factor in risk. Because what happens if like a renter doesn't pay their bill, or they're like a professional renter where they completely scam you out of thousands and thousands of rental income because they know the system, they play the system, and are basically able to like milk living at your home for free due to the laws within your state for like 2 years, right? So you gotta keep that in mind. Like, real estate could provide you with a more passive income than, let's say, that your job or your business or whatever. But the reality is, there's no such thing as true passive income. The closest thing that you can get to passive income, right, is by producing something that gets sold automatically forever. So, for example, let's say that you were to create like a song or you were to write a book and you self publish it, and just by organic traffic, it's able to sell on its own. But it's very hard to develop the audience to end up getting very high organic traffic for you to like have a decent income from that passive income source, meaning that you probably have to spend time creating some sort of content, which is basically making that passive income no longer passive. Another one that is pretty close to being passive income is where you invest your money into, like, let's say the S&P 500, and you have it automatically reinvest the dividends that it produces back into buying more of the S&P 500. Now, it doesn't have to be the S&P 500, but just basically index funds. And you keep on doing that forever, so that compound interest basically escalates the amount of money within that account, right? Like, if you were to put like $100 per month, $300 per month, depending on your age and how long you do this for, you could end up retiring a millionaire without really doing anything, right? But you still got to be keeping putting money in it every single month, and that's basically pretty much the amount of work that you do is just putting money into that account that is automatically investing into the index fund. But like, that's the most passive that I could think of, where you could technically like live a life that you want to live and get very wealthy without really trying too much. Like, personal finance is like beyond simple. It is not sexy like at all. Like, finance is not sexy at all. It's like, if you're debt free, if you got a savings like an emergency fund, right? If you have money automatically going towards retirement and you spend less than what you make per year, you will live a pretty financially free life to where you can pretty much go and do whatever you want to do, right? Because the amount of cash flow you have in that type of situation, you could pay for like things that pop up without getting into your emergency fund. You could end up potentially buying a brand new car and cash without really worrying about it. You could end up moving up to a bigger home whenever you basically wanted to, because you have enough cash flow coming in to save up for a down payment of a home. So it's just something to really think about. It's like, there's nothing necessarily wrong or, like, I mean, complicated when it comes to personal finance. Like, anyone can become debt free. Anyone can have a positive net worth. Anyone can technically have multiple millions of dollars in their retirement account by the time that they retire. But how many people are willing to wait 10, 20, 30, 40 years to actually get that money? Not a lot of people, which is the problem. A lot of people want to make millions of dollars within 1 year, which I understand that. Everyone wants to make a whole bunch of money super quick. But the problem is, you could literally just replace your car payment into an index fund and you will become a millionaire. Like, do you realize how sad that actually is? Like, the average car payment for the American household is $800 per month, not including insurance. If you were to put that money towards your retirement, you could retire before 65. You could retire before 60. You could retire before probably 50 or before 40. If you were to start like at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, like the younger you start investing towards your retirement, the better it's going to be for you. And like there's nothing too crazy complicated about it. You just have to keep doing it over and over again per month. And you can automate it to the extent where you don't even think about it. It's just sad. Like it's sad to see so many people fall for these types of scams because it's like it's a combination of them being ignorant about personal finance, but also too that they're also greedy because they want these quick like get rich quick schemes, which is very hard to end up getting rich quick unless you're going and like getting involved into something super risky. Or the other thing, which is still potentially risky, is sales. Like maybe you can make a whole bunch of money in sales, but you're risking not having like a regular income, like a regular paycheck. Any comments? No. If you stumble upon this, feel free to give your thoughts. Like this is just sad to see. I hate seeing people literally just lose like their life savings due to these like get rich quick stuff. Like it's just sad.